Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity, and I am up with a surprise creation, project share, and also a little tutorial, because in the design team haul that I received last week were some flowers, and I mentioned making them out of foamy ran, and somebody said, can you show us how you do that, because they'd seen people using hot irons for it, and I just used my craft gun. So I'm going to do a little demo of that in a second, but first of all, I was sent these irregular frames. Now, I did measure all these and what have you in the haul video, so I've used the square one and I've used the rectangle sort of irregular. As you can see, that one is definitely square and that one's more elongated. So I just made really quick and simple cards, and I used Snap Click Supply to do this one, and I don't know what the quality of my camera is like today, but this is the Fancy Pants Burlap and Bouquets from Snap Click Supply, and it's just two elements that you can either use your scan and cut to cut them out, or just fussy cut them, which is what I do, and then I just edge all my cutouts there with black ink so that you couldn't see any white cardstock. But that was just a really quick card, and I just love that paper. It's just, you know, it's just wonderfully vintage. It just takes me down memory lane of when I first started crafting. So that's what I did with a kind of square irregular one. And then with the more rectangular irregular one, I did a gingerbread card. And if I put that down, because I think it just about fits in, you can see it there. You kind of square on one corner and circle on another. So you can see that it's kind of like opposites. And this is a free printable that I found, I think it was on Pinterest a couple of years ago. And what I did, because obviously it's a printout and it's a blank frame and you can just add your own script into it. So this is my first Christmas card of the year, I think. Wishing you sweetness and joy throughout the year. And because it's just a printout, I did two and then cut the elements out that I thought would come to the foreground. So you can see the bow there is lifted up, and so are the hands, and so is the holly at the bottom, just popped up onto foam pads. So that was really quick and easy to do, and I do love these shapes. I've got to find or try and discover another way of using them, because when I look at them I just think that they should be curled or rolled or something. Or, you know, used for pockets. So I'm going to kind of like play around with them and see what I come up with. And another thing about this, I don't know if this is still out there, but if you do find this printable on Pinterest, because I cut another one out, you could actually put a strand of, if I reach over my desk, I've got it here. This stuff is from AliExpress and it's Christmas bulbs. But before you stuck the second layer of hands down, you could actually, you know, have a little bit of twine or something going on under there with a little gingerbread holding it in the hands, and then put the second layer of hands down. So, you know, I always like stuff that's got dimension in it. So I just thought that was, you know, another way to add a little bit extra. But I do think that's really sweet. It's really prim. Right, now then, this is what was asked for. These are the flowers that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be using chalks. Now, foamy ran, it's foam, which means it's liquid repellent. So using liquid inks on it really isn't a good idea. You might get a very faint colour, but it's not going to be good. I would recommend oil pastels or pastel chalks, and I'm going to be using pastel chalks today and using this set called Chilled. Now, I'm always using the I've forgotten what it's called. It's called Bear or something, which is all the flesh tones, and I use those to do cheeks and stuff on my critters, and I know that you cannot get them anywhere. Spellbinders sold out of them and discontinued them. Occasionally you might see one or two come up on eBay, but they want ridiculous money for them, and on sale they were like, I don't know, $4 or $5 each, and I think that's what I paid for mine. But you may still find this one on the Spellbinders website for about $4 or $5. So if they're colours that you like, you know, just dash over there really quickly. And to apply to my foamy ran, I'm going to be using my little sort of, I don't know what you call them, eyeshadow brushes. You can get these from Dollar Tree as well, I think. They also do them in bulk on AliExpress. But I've already got these dirtied up, so I'm not going to use any new ones. I'm just going to go into colours. Oh, I've got a new side there, and just reuse them. So you're going to need a blender to apply your pastels. If you've got pan pastels, you can also use those. And do you remember the huge fad of pan pastels? Yeah, I went out and bought a lot as well. And then afterwards I kind of sat there and I thought, okay, I just spent a lot of money on pan pastels, and now what am I going to do with it? And it's a great way to use them because there's great colours in pan pastels. And I think the most important thing, if you are going out to buy pan pastels, make sure you buy a fixative. I think that's why so many people have so many and don't use them very often, is because they don't have the fixative. So get one of those and then you'll be all right. And of course, once again, if you can't find good cheek and flesh tones for doing your little critters and stuff, you can use pan pastels for that. Right, so digressing, and I'm going to be using some stamens because, as you can see, there's a little hole there in each of those dies, which means you can insert stamens. And to do my stamens, I always use, and I hope you can see that, that's a really fine gauge piece of jewellery wire. And what I will do, she says dropping it already, is just bend it over. That's all you need to do. Just bend it over and make a little loop. And then what I would do is just poke that up through your foamy ran, push your stamens through, and then just pull it straight through. But I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. I'll put that there so I don't lose it again. Right, foamy ran, what is it? This is it. It is a very, very fine sheet of foam. Now, this one is, I think, 1.5 mil. It's either 1.5 mil or 1 mil. And, you know, there's a little bit of difference between the 1 and the 1.5. But not much because we're talking in mils. And it is, I've got a whole sheet here. They come in packs of, I think it's 10 or 12 on AliExpress for $5 or $6. And I will provide a link below if they're still selling it. You can buy it coloured as well, but I prefer the white because then you can just put whatever colour you want. Now, the delicacy of this, I'm going to pull. Do you see that? That was a tug, which means that when you're making foamy ran flowers, you don't really want to be overly rough with it. You don't want to stretch it out too much. You do it very, very gently. So I'm going to go off and do some die cutting, and I'll be straight back. Right, so I've done some die cutting, and I've got my die cuts on a silicone mat. Because we're going to be using a heat gun, you do want something obviously that's going to take some heat. These are stamens that I've pulled out of my jar here, and these are some of the finest ones that you can get on AliExpress. You can see it's just a little bit thicker than, I would say, button cotton, or maybe even as thick as the kind of wax thread that you would get for button cotton. And I just fold my stamens in half like this, which means they're still connected at the bottom. And this is where this bit comes in, because you can just do that. And quite literally, you've made a needle now where you can thread through the hole in your foamy ran. So not getting to that bit just yet, but I did want to share that these have got holes in. Now, I'm not going to be doing all of these on camera, obviously. I'm just going to make one. But you poke your tool there and you get your little bit out that's stuck in there. There it is. And then you can see you've got your little hole. So that's where we're going to thread our wire and stamens through. So I'm going to go for a small, a medium and a large, because you've got 3 different sizes in that set from Surprise Creation. And if I just do these and then pop them side by side, you'll be able to see the size difference. Right, so if I move these up here, because I can do these for a project later in the week or next week, I don't really waste anything, so I'm just moving those up. I'm all fingers and thumbs. Right, so you've got your medium, you've got your small. No, you haven't. You've got your medium, you've got your small, and you've got your large size. And that's what I've got on here. So I've got my small, I've got my medium, and I've got my large. And now in this palette, I'll put my little piece of wire there too. Let's get some clarity back. In this palette, it's kind of pinks, blues and greens, which means, you know, that it's quite floral, even though it's called chilled. And I'm going to open it and show you. And it does look identical to a makeup palette. I'm pretty sure that you could use makeup if you wanted to. But you can see in here, I've got sort of like a pale pink and I've got a darker pink. So I think I'm just going to go with pink and do a pink flower. And I'm going to fold my lid up just a little bit so that you can see the colours there. Now, I've already got my dirty sticks that I showed you, and I'm going to use a clean side because I'm going to use some paler pink, and I'm going to go pale, I think, for my small one, and then blend two colours for the medium. And you can see just how quick and easy this is. As I said, it's foam, and if you use a wet ink, it's going to stay wet for a very, very long time before you're going to be able to handle it. So I've got a pale pink one there for the centre, and then here I'm going to go with two shades. So I'm going to go pale, sorry if I'm going quiet. So you just squish your colour on, and then I'm going to, where did I put that other colour? Oh, there it is. And then I'm going to use some of the darker pink, and I'm just going to dot it around so that it's not covering it entirely. You've still got some pale bit there, but you've got some darker bit. So you can see that, and kind of just have a look at how it's looking. I actually want to go darker, so I'm going to go into a little bit of plum, and you can pick it up and you can also dust off the edges, and then go back to your paler bit and blend it in. Now obviously if you're using a much bigger die, it's easier to get sort of more realistic tones. So you can see you can still blend, but you're just a little bit darker than your centerpiece now. And if I pop that on, hopefully you'll be able to see it. See, it's just a little bit darker. And then for the base, I'm going to go for the darkest one, and I've just gone in there anyway. And this is a kind of plummy pink. And of course, the more you spread the colour out, the fainter it becomes. And that's okay, because you can blend it. If you've got it too dark, you can blend it out. You can go in and you can put a little bit of pink on top of it as well if you want to. And I think that I'm going to go in with a little bit of pale, just to bring it back to a pink tone, but it's going to be a slightly darker pink tone. Right, so now we've got our three pieces, and you can see that they are different colours, and I'm going with the darkest shade towards the back. Right, I'm just going to shut this palette and move my stuff. And now I'm going to grab my heat gun. and hopefully things aren't going to fly off all over the place. Now, surprise creation, she did send me some tweezers, and I know that I use them and I can't find them, and I know it's the only pair of tweezers in my craft room, so I'm going to use my poke tool just to pin it to the mat. Right, here we go. Very old heat gun. Very old, very tatty. It's a Ranger heat tool. I've had it for a lot of years, so I don't know if they still even make this one. Right, so I'm going to go with my big one first. Just hold it down so it doesn't blow away on you. And I'm hoping that you can see, as it starts to get hot, you should see the petals start to curl up towards you, like that one just did. And at this point, it's not that hot that it's going to hurt you, but you can grab it and then you just gently twist it in your fingers. And then you're not going to unravel it yet. You're just going to leave it there and let it do its thing. And then I'm going to go in with this one. I'm going to pin it down. And I'm trying to hold it at an angle so that you can see. One of those petals now has started coming up towards me. And you don't want to over bake, because otherwise you'll end up with something incredibly crispy. And so once again, I've got it in my hands and I'm twisting it, but I'm doing it gently. It might look like I'm applying a lot of pressure, but I'm not. And I'm just throwing that down as well. I'm going to keep that one there. And then we're going to go with the centre, which is the pale pink. And you may or may not be able to see this, I don't know. Right, that one is curled up towards me. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to get it in the centre. And then I'm just going to squish it. Squish it and put it down. Right, so we've got those squished up pieces. This one has opened itself out quite nicely, and I don't know if I can drop my camera any lower. Let's see if we can. That looks like it's all right. It's looking all right to me. I hope it looks all right to you. Now, I am not going to fuss opening these up. I just like that sort of very ruffled appearance. And I've got my little piece of wire here. And if you need to squish it anymore, because it is quite a soft wire, you can go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to grab, I think maybe 3, because they're so tiny. And of course you can colour these as well. So you can get your chalks and you can make your stamens whatever colour you want. And as I was saying, it's kind of like one of the reasons I tend to always go for the white stuff, because you can just ink it up and do whatever you want. Right, so those are my stamens, and I've just got them balanced through the hole in that wire. And I'm quite literally using the wire now as a needle. So my smallest one is going to go on first. And because my wire's uneven, I need to get it through that hole. And then we've got the medium one that we're threading through. And then we can just arrange them as we want to in a minute, you know, so that all the petals are in a different direction. But if you just hold that gently and pull, you can see, just like using a needle, you've pulled your stamens all the way through the hole so that you've got wherever you want them. Now, I think I'm going to go quite low down on these, and you can fan them around. So I hope that you can see that little flower. And then what I will do is, obviously I'm going to take this piece of wire out, she says, twizzling it around. And it will just come straight out like that. And then I'm going to put this face down now. I'm not going to trim anything. And I'm going to get my glossy accents and hope that it's not all blocked up. So I actually had to cut the tip off of this one. because it gets an airlock. Now, I'm doing this off camera, but I'm just poking a pin in the hole where the glossy accents comes out and seeing if I can get it to squeeze out. Right, okay. So right here behind the stamens, I am going to put a blob of glossy accents, and I'm going all the way around, and that's probably going to take about 10 minutes to dry. Now I can pick that up because I can see it doesn't look as if it's focused very well. Let's have a look, see how close we can go. Ooh, if I do that, just mastering the art of my camera while you're there. But there is, you know, let's see if that shows it. It's probably because it's white behind, it's glaring, but there is a little drop of glossy accents there, and I leave that to dry. When it's dry, I then trim my stamens off. If you're wanting to add a stem, keep your stamens on and then just wrap whatever you're going to use, your floral tape, around the stamen there. But I'll be back in 10 minutes. Right, so I tried to get a good picture while I was kind of like off camera, trying to get as close as I possibly could so that you can see that little tiny blob of glossy accents that's gone down in that hole and sealed it. So what I'm going to do now, I'll put all my other flowers in there so that I don't lose them, is just get my scissors and hold that gently and then cut the back off those stamens. That then means that you can pop your flower down onto a project. But I think that's really pretty. Hold it in my hand. Let's see how close we can go. There you go. You've got all those different shades of like kind of pinky purple. And I think this actually might be 1.5mm foamy ran. The other one is finer, so you probably would get, you know, more acute detail, but you've got to be quite delicate with it. But yeah, that's how you make a little foamy ran flower. And you can, you know, manipulate all the petals or leaves or whatever you're making with foamy ran into any shape that you want. But I just like to scrunch mine up and just let it open all on its own, if you know what I mean. So that's my little flower demonstration, and we made cards. Yes. So that is what I've got for you today. I'm kind of scooting that out of the way so that you can see those frames too. Right. I thank you so much for joining me. I mean, that would look pretty on there, wouldn't it? You know, to add a little bit of dimension on the card. Yeah, I quite like that. It's quite cute. But as I say, my camera, you know, it's not brilliant today, so I'm kind of trying to get in as close as I possibly can. Oh, there is another piece of information I wanted to share before I run away. 6 days ago, I got an email from YouTube, and apparently 1 million people had watched my videos. I was absolutely dumbstruck. Dumbstruck, was it dumbfounded? Whichever one it is, I was over the moon. So thank you very, very much. And I will be up tomorrow, and I think it's going to be MX Art tomorrow. But I do thank you so much for watching, and as usual, all links below. Bye.